Hello everyone, my name is Val Desamore, and this is my presentation on personal info in 3 levels of government control of public education. A little bit about me. I graduated from St. John's University in 2005 with a BA in communications. After I finished St. John's, I was offered a sales media assistant position at Katz Media in New York City. Although I really enjoy working in media sales, it wasn't really my passion, so I went back to school and I got my master's in counseling from Fordham in 2010. I am now licensed in New York State and New Jersey to work as a school counselor. And right now I'm currently working at Livingston High School in Livingston, New Jersey. As a school counselor, this is my 4th year working at Livingston. And before that, I worked at Union High School for 7 years as a counselor. So that's about a total of 12 years in education as a school counselor. Just some personal information about me. Most people call me with my nickname, which is Val. So feel free to call me Val. I grew up in New York, but I currently live in New Jersey. As you can see at the bottom, I love to travel the world. I love cruises. This summer I'm going to Greece. So besides traveling, my other favorite hobbies are running, listening to music, live concerts, shopping, reading. My favorite sport is tennis, but I don't play, and I'm currently right now watching the Australian Open. I have a 9-year-old niece that I absolutely adore, and I enjoy staying on top of current events. All right, now into the presentation. What kind of support do public schools receive at the following levels of government? So at the local level, each district is governed by a school board, so whose members are either elected by the public or they are appointed. 90% of school boards are elected by a popular vote. Each school board appoint a superintendent, which is typically the person who's in charge of the entire district, and they act as CEO of all the districts, of all the schools in the entire district. Local school boards are responsible for establishing the curriculum, hiring personnel, and decide when schools should be closed. School boards also responsible for funding the budget by collecting property tax on all of the homes and the businesses in the district. At the state level, the state delegates much of their authority to the local school districts. They create the Common Core standards at the state level. In states that choose to adopt the Common Core standards, the State Department of Education must generate a set of benchmark for student achievement in reading and math. And for us in New Jersey, it's called, it used to call the New Jersey Ask, but I believe that they are changing the name this year. Most of the Department of Education choose to establish additional education standard for all the subjects, including science, social studies, art, and foreign language. State level funding for government varies widely, but on average, state provide for slightly less than half of schools' operating costs. So at the federal level, so the federal contribution to elementary and secondary education is only about 8%, which includes funds not only from the Department of Ed, but also from federal agencies such as Department of Health and Human Services and the Head Start program and the Department of Agriculture Schools lunch program. Also at the federal level, in order to receive funding, schools must comply with various requirements from all of the 3 branches because federal education funding comes from tax money. The U.S. Department of Education collects data on government-run schools, evaluate performance, and suggest policy changes and measure outcomes. So who's in charge? So locally, parents are primarily responsible for the nurture and education of their children. The school board, is in charge locally. It is a volunteer position. They create policies and regulation. They approve budgets and hiring of staff. They are responsible for establishing the curriculum, hiring personnel, and decides when schools should be closed, consolidated, or constructed. The superintendent also, that's a paid position. They act as CEO of all the schools in the district, work under the board of directors, work with the school board to create policies and regulations, and approve budgets and hiring of staff. At the state level, you've got the state legislators. It is a paid position. They create laws that regulate the public school system. The House of Representatives and the Senators also falls under that. Department of Ed, paid position as well. In the state of New Jersey, we have an acting commissioner, which is Angelica Allen. So the acting commissioner serves as secretary and official agent for all purposes. At the state level, so they create the Common Core standards. They generate a set of benchmarks for student in reading and math. New Jersey, actually it's called Start Strong. That's the name of the benchmark that they created in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey State Board of Education, volunteer position, 13 board members who are appointed by the governor. Our governor is Phil Murphy. Non-voting students, a non-voting student representative selected annually by the New Jersey Association of Student Council, appoints Commissioner of Education, advises on educational policies proposed by the Commissioner, and confirms Department of Education staff appoint made by the Commissioner. At the federal level, you've got the federal legislator, which is a paid position. House of Rep and Senate ensure the right to free and high quality education for all K-12 students. They provide resources, support, and infrastructure for all schools, districts, and state. Then you've got the Department of Ed that oversees federal grants, federal laws, and policies. They collect data on all government-run schools, evaluate performance, and suggest policies change and measure outcomes. Encourage and support state and districts in their work to improve learning of all students. This is Secretary of Education, also a paid position. Improve the result of our education system for all students. So which of the three levels of government have the most influence over these NS number 6 component? 6.1, that's definitely local. At the local level, the school board is creating the vision and mission statement for the district. They're in charge of the day-to-day operation. They're making decisions. The decisions are made by the local board of ed members. 6.2 definitely falls under state, creating the Common Core standards and collect data on all the state testing so they can improve student achievement. 6.3, definitely a little bit of state, but more federal, implementing laws, policies, and regulations. So how does all of the educational success and well-being of each student and adult? Although each of the three levels are different, they are all there to support the success of each student regardless of age, race, gender, and ethnicity. Each of them provide funding, resources, and support for all students. And also each of them create policies and develop laws and regulations to protect the rights of students and staff. Correlation. The educational system is based off all three branches, which is the local, the state, and the federal. So within this assignment, I learned how all three branches need to work together in order to provide all of our students equal opportunity and equal access to education. Each level of government provide a different amount of funding to schools, and they require varying degrees of accountability within the schools and the district. So therefore, the federal government has assumed the responsibility of gathering and reporting data on the progress of education in the states, while the local districts and the Board of Ed members work together to kind of create the mission and the vision statement and develop policies and regulation that will serve best the community. Relevant. This assignment is absolutely relevant to my current role as a high school counselor and my future role as a building leader. I learned what each level of government is responsible for and how they work together to create a safe and learning environment for all students and staff. And as a future building principal, it is really important to understand the correlation between all three levels of government and how each of them play a pivotal role in education. Some of my reflections. So this assignment definitely gave me a better understanding of local, state, and federal laws when it comes to education. It was great to research how all three branches tie together and figure out who's responsible for what. My understanding of the three branches definitely increased. I learned that some of the leaders that are involved are not paid for their work. However, they are all working together to ensure the success of all students. I also learned that state and local government have more power over federal when it comes to funding. Therefore, it is very important to know the local and state laws, policies, and regulation. It is equally important to know who those local and state officials are because their roles are pivotal to education. I am looking forward to learn more about educational laws and policies in this course. And these are my references. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to getting to know all of you during the course.